Today we find ourselves off Highway 395. Now, we're right past Lone Pine, and I totally forgot this place was here, but I've always wanted to do a video on it and stop by if I remembered, and today seems as good a time as ever. Manzanar, what a strange name for a place, right? But in 1942, I believe it was 42, after Pearl Harbor, there was Japanese internment camps, and I believe there was 10 across the United States where Japanese that were actually citizens were rounded up and put in these internment camps. Well, Manzanar is one of the internment camps that was out here off of 395. I believe there was about 7 in California, and then across the US too, with Japanese Americans, and just if you're Japanese, you were going to be sent here. This is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Well, it's not cool, but it's crazy. It's pretty surreal that when it gets hot out here, it's very hot, and when it gets cold like today, as you can see the mountains behind me, it's cold. You had no privacy, and we're gonna go see, I can see a tower down there, and we're gonna go see what's left of the internment camps and what's kind of rebuilt to give an idea of where these people were subject to be housed during World War II. Manzanar that way.
Coast became a potential combat zone. Living in that zone were more than 100,000 persons of Japanese ancestry. 2/3 of them American citizens, 1/3 aliens. We knew that some among them were potentially dangerous, but no one knew what would happen among this concentrated population if Japanese forces should try to invade our shores.
Now, with the current government shutdown, I don't know how far we can go in and what we can see. But there's the Sierras, and here we are. Manzanar, Natural Historic Site. You can see the guard tower up there, and I know that they've been working on it. You can see the camps in the distance on the foothills. And we're gonna get a little bit closer, but I just wanted to point out this sign. We're not too far from Cerro Gordo either. If you've ever seen Ghost Town Living, excellent show on YouTube. Well worth it. And here's Highway 395, and I am the only one out here right now.
Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move. This picture tells how the mass migration was accomplished. Neither the Army nor the War Relocation Authority relished the idea of taking men, women, and children from their homes, their shops, and their farms.
This notes, we're on the Blue Star Memorial Highway, a tribute to the armed services that have defended the United States of America. It's pretty crazy to see that. And then while that was going on, directly across the street, internment camp time. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, that was racist and this and that, but it was 1942. Pearl Harbor in Hawaii was just attacked. There was no internet, there was no cell phones. You'd get your news from, well, the paper and what was on the radio. From a tower 40 feet above the ground, U.S. Army military police watched with bated orders the wire fence of Manzanar apprehend and arrest Japanese America, leaving without authority, using such force as necessary. And here is a view of how many units there were out here. There was a lot. I mean, they have 2 or 3 now to kind of show it. Toyo Miyatake was able to take his panoramic photograph from the original guard tower that stood there. The photo in updated, but the Manzanar Cooperative first printed it in 1944 and sold copies for 85 cents. Here's the Corporal Fred Cruz hanging out, a military police. Wrote to his future wife, "Don't forget, send a bucket full of rain down. Silly, isn't it? Besides that, we have lizards, dust storms, and rattlesnakes to put up with. We wear sunglasses all the time, goggles in case of dust storms, and a knife in case of a snake bite." And this is not one of the original ones. It's a recreation to show you, and it says, "Icon of Confinement." Now, this was 1942 to 1945. 8 U.S. Army guard towers loomed over the more than 11,000 Japanese Americans held in Manzanar for most of the time. U.S. military police Man the towers, a visual reminder that the unconstitutionally incarcerated people were not allowed to leave without permission. Now, that's where it wasn't right. But the barbed wire separated us from the rest of the world, Nomura remembered. With the shouted warnings from the armed guards on the towers, we learned to keep our distance. The tower represents the whole thing was about imprisonment, loss of civil liberties, loss of identity. Walk over here to this recreation of this tower.
So the military and civilian agencies alike determined to do the job as a democracy should, with real consideration for the people involved. First attention was given to the problems of sabotage and espionage. Now, here at San Francisco, for example, convoys were being made up within sight of possible Axis agents.
It's always crazy for me to visit these places so many years later and doing these videos, and you know, you read about them in books and it just jumps off the page when you're actually here. I mean, I'm right next to the barbed wire fences, and I mean, not that long ago, people were held in these citizens. We're talking about Americans were kept in these internment camps. And to just see this razor wire. I mean, you had everything. You had families, children growing up here, elderly people, and there's a barbed wire fence. It is cold. As you can see, there's snow on the mountains. Got a little chill to me. Let's see if we can get in luck, my friends. The gate is open. They don't even close it up. I mean, the museum part is kind of closed up, whatever looks like a basketball court auditorium over there. But over here, block 14, we're able to do an auto tour that you can drive around. Now, these were the barracks. This is one of 36 blocks at Manzanar where Japanese Americans lived. Each block had 14 barracks buildings divided into apartments. Barrack 1 and 8 reconstructed featured exhibits on the challenges and changes people faced here to tell stories early day in the camp. This shows them, and I don't think those are the actual basketball courts, but holy smokes. Look at this. Okay, I can actually make a basket at Manzanar. I don't know if that's I'm not trying to be a jerk or nothing, but heck, why not?
There were more Japanese in Los Angeles than in any other area. At nearby San Pedro, houses and hotels occupied almost exclusively by Japanese were within a stone's throw of a naval air base, shipyards, oil wells. Japanese fishermen had every opportunity to watch the movement of our ships. Japanese farmers were living close to vital aircraft plants. So as a first step, all Japanese were required to move from critical areas such as these.
Right here we have what would have been the men's latrine, the restroom. Not a whole lot for, well, let's say the majority were men. Let's say 8,000 men, yeah. Not a whole lot of restrooms here. And here you'd have the woman's latrine. I gotta figure, probably wasn't, I don't know, you have to have your own law here, I guess. This says enduring humiliation. Oh, geez. Cherry Yamada Ueda never forgot her first impression of Manzanar. It was devastating. The worst thing was what they called the latrine. The separate little shack building, toilets lined up. Japanese are very modest, and we were so ashamed. Wow. Go down closer to the mountains. And like I was saying, today is in the 50s, but the wind comes off these mountains over here and it just cuts through you. What did we find? Oh, this is the laundry room. Of course, the women were doing that, especially back in the early 40s. Got the ironing room down here. Community activities. When not working or attending school, incarcerated Japanese Americans looked for ways to occupy their time within a square mile camp with some initiative or talent. Wanted to start a class or club. Look at these guys. Some dudes pumping iron, some dudes painting flowers, and then you got the ironing room. The pressing needs, as it states there. Walk over here to the mess hall. Got Cookie hanging out. Made in Manzanar. Although the farms were outside Manzanar's barbed wire fence, by 1942, the WRA had persuaded Army officials to allow workers to travel to the fields with escorts. Wow, bean sprouts, 7,000 pounds per month, tofu, beehives, hog farm. So they had it really going on, and that shows how much was coming out of here. 1,366,000 eggs. Wow. This kind of shows, this is where I am. And that just shows what was going on. Sustaining a city. I know this is one continuous shot. Now this states the crowded quarters right here. When we first got together, they put 2 bachelor men with us. So my dad put a sheet around our bed. All the comforts at home were stripped away. Now this one's locked. Go over here too. This is where the buildings line up at. Building 2, building 3, all the way down. And the basketball courts.
At each relocation center, evacuees were met by an advance contingent of Japanese who had arrived some days earlier and who now acted as guides. Naturally, the newcomers looked about with some curiosity. They were in a new area, on land that was raw, untamed, but full of opportunity. Here they would build schools, educate their children, reclaim the desert.
This says they're gonna forget us here. And then there's a chow bell right there. Don't have anything I could bang on that with right now. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Come and get it. They had these old farm type alarms where they beat the still if you wanted to know the time. They were very accurate. At 5 o'clock in the morning. Why all this humdrum come? From the Japanese to start breakfast. Breakfast was 6:45 to 8, lunch was 12 to 1, and dinner 5:30 to 6:30. There's everybody getting in line in the old mess hall. Hurry up and wait, the classic military line. I think that applies to quite a bit nowadays. Life at Manzanar. The food, I can't remember if it was good or bad, recalled Kathy, who was 3 years old when she arrived, as hundreds of Japanese Americans would line up in the rain, cold, and heat. Man, that's me way over there. I've walked quite a distance to check these out. But yeah, there's the old chow hall. We'll make our way over to the baseball diamond. Now this isn't marked, and I know there is a graveyard here. I believe there's 6 people that remain. Some were kids, and others were people without family. That does look like a grave to me. Maybe I'll see something that points that out a little bit better as I make my way around.
Their parents, most of whom are American citizens, and their grandparents, who are aliens, immediately wanted to go to work. At Manzanar, they built a lath house and began rooting guayuli cuttings. The plants, when mature, will add to our rubber supply.
If you've ever watched Star Trek or listened to Howard Stern or are familiar with George Takei, he was here with his family, so he talks about it too. And I know he wrote a book. I believe he touches on the subject as well. That's what you call survival. Manzanar High School Science Class, 1944. This would have been the schoolhouse, I believe. Dust to diplomas. Looks like a few more cars just pulled up too. Made my way over to, it looks like they're putting in a ball field where there used to be, hold on, let me flip this around. And they're rebuilding a replica. Now, Kenichi Zenemura, he was known, if you know old school Japanese baseball, he was the godfather of Japanese baseball, also known as the Dean of the Diamond and father of the Japanese American baseball. He was actually at Gila River out in Arizona. That was another internment camp. So he was not here, but baseball was a huge part of Manzanar. Here we go, let's get some information. Here at Manzanar main baseball field, thousands of fans gathered for epic matchup between the Scorpions, Padres, the Has-Beens, and other teams in the camp's 12 leagues. Putting on a baseball uniform was like wearing an American flag. Baseball was a powerful symbol of an American way of life that boosted morale and brought some sense of normalcy to the confined community in the 1942. Nearly 100 men and 14 women's softball teams were playing. Wow. Whoa, look at that. Here comes the sun too, right behind me. What a sunrise. It's just peeking over that mountain. I like to envision hearing the cheers and the roars while being stuck in this place against your will. I mean, some people want to be, but wow. Right here, it would have been going off. I'm at a true loss for words. This is something to see. If you're ever on 395, stop by Manzanar. Just get off. It's a quick little loop. You can drive your car. A piece of history. You can walk around, and they're doing a really good job on bringing it back to life. I'm going to walk out on the ball field real quick. Now the gate's open, so why wouldn't I? Here's home plate. You know, I already got to throw a basketball through a hoop here. Might as well tag home. Now, at the time of recording this, we know the Toronto Blue Jays will be playing the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. Go Dodgers. I was hoping a little bit it'd be Seattle, but can't always get what you want there. Got nailed in from the pitcher's mound. You just hear the highway now, but this would have been just a complete way of life for these poor people. My gosh, but I mean, there's two sides of a coin. You don't know. Everyone in America was on edge, you know, because they just got attacked. They're going to war. So what do? You think you're living with your enemy. Different times, that's for sure. Was it wrong? Absolutely. I don't justify it at all, but wow. I believe they're still working on it because I walked over here and it looks like there's going to be a pond there. It's just not filled in now, but I have the leaves talking to me. You can see how far I'm parked. So 100 yards, a football field to a fish pond with no water. But so when you get here and you pull in, like I said, it's a driving loop. The museum's closed, obviously, right now, or I would have stopped by. Give yourself maybe 30 minutes, an hour. It's free. You can drive all the way around. It says I have a mile, almost 2 miles to still go towards the Sierras here. And once again, I never get tired of that view. Can't wait to see it a little bit later after I upload all this. It looks like if I come back within the next 6 months, they have a Japanese garden, a rose garden, they're gonna have that pond, a whole bunch of stuff. So I mean, there's quite a few things that are being built up. I mean, they still got a little bit more to go. And this is, you are standing before a Sanshi Inn, or 3 to 4 garden. Water once flowed over those silent stones, soothing troubled spirits and easing the monotony of long mealtime lines. Designed and built by interns, mess hall gardens served as a source of block identity and pride. They really got to get some water out here. So I guess if the lines were long for food, you'd come over here and chill. If they only thought about skateboards, they'd skate in the bowl. But yeah, not a bad spot, I guess. Way yonder, over there where the sun's coming up, is where the mess halls would have been. So if you don't feel like eating today, you come over here and just kind of chill with the nice little makeshift garden that they came up with. So there's quite a few other stops all the way around the loop that you can stop at. I've decided we'll be ending our tour today and just visiting. I did want to see the barracks and the chow hall, and I figured I'd stop at the final place to pay respect to the people that are still here. There's, I believe, 6 people that are still buried here, and it was either, I am correct, it was kids, or if you were pretty much a single male with no family, you were laid to rest here. So a lot of the bodies have been taken and put elsewhere, but there are still a few that remain. So with that being said, thank you as always for watching. I do appreciate it. Please like this video. If you like historic videos, let me know in the comments. Also, if you've ever been here or have any questions about getting here, send me a message. But with that being said, the sun is rising. The sun is rising in the west. And this is what we have left. I've been to quite a few cemeteries in my time. And these folks are laid at the foothills. It's nice to see that they are remembering what was here and they're building it up for people to come out here. It's really something else. And when it's finally all said and done, when they have everything completed, it's really going to be something to see. I'll definitely be back. There's a headstone with some Japanese writing on it. Rest in peace, everyone. There's quite a few. It said 6, but I've already counted more than 6. And look at these. I mean, you would figure they'd be eroded by now. But here's the monument in the middle. It's nice to see people do come out here and, well, I'm paying respect. But do remember those that went through this. So 1942 through 1945. So there are still folks alive that were out here. Where are you going to go? I mean, you got the mountains on this side, a hot desert, and back in the day, you probably had no highway. Or maybe you did. Maybe 395 was there, but you really, where are you going to go? You know, this is as far as you really could imagine. Terrible. It's good to be here. So hopefully history does not repeat itself. Well, with that being said, goodbye from Manzanar. I got a highway to hit, and I'm headed north.
Meanwhile, in areas away from the coast and under appropriate safeguards, many were permitted to enter private employment, particularly to work in sugar beet fields where labor was badly needed. Now, this brief picture is actually the prologue to a story that is yet to be told. The full story will begin to unfold when the raw lands of the desert turn green, when all adult hands are at productive work on public lands or in private employment. It will be fully told only when circumstances permit the loyal American citizens once again to enjoy the freedom we in this country cherish, and when the disloyal, we hope, have left this country for good. In the meantime, we are setting a standard for the rest of the world in the treatment of people who may have loyalties to an enemy nation. We are protecting ourselves without violating the principles of Christian decency. And we won't change this fundamental decency no matter what our enemies do. But of course, we hope most earnestly that our example will influence the Axis powers in their treatment of Americans who fall into their hands.